We are not makers of history, we are made by history. This quote by Martin Luther King, a historical civil rights leader and activist, describes the idea that our lives and identities are shaped and influenced by the events, circumstances, and societal context of the past. This quote holds a lot of value today, especially in the context of civil rights. The painting here, known as Confrontation on the Bridge, is an AP College Board stimulus source. In this painting, you can see African Americans being backed up upon a bridge while dogs are surrounding them. These dogs are supposed to represent police. This is depicting the 1965 Selma to Montgomery marches for voting rights that would allow African Americans to vote without harassment. Throughout history, African Americans have been subjected to discrimination due to their past, and this has hindered them in the present. Good afternoon, my name is Ebenezer Okori, and today I'm going to be talking about historical discrimination and its impact on the socioeconomic status of African Americans in the 21st century. My research question is, how has historical discrimination impacted the socioeconomic status of African Americans in the 21st century? And to answer this question, I said historical discrimination has negatively impacted the socioeconomic status of African Americans in the 21st century. And the three ways I'm going to be talking about are education, health, and economics. My first topic is going to be economics. Starting off from the U.S. Department of Education, the area of school discipline, Black African Americans have a higher chance of severe punishment rather than their white counterparts. You can see this in this graph also from the U.S. Department of Education, where blacks have a 3-to-1 ratio of being expelled and a 4-to-1 ratio of receiving a suspension. This hinders Black African Americans as it makes it harder for them to succeed educationally because they're facing severe punishment far more easily. Now I'm going to be talking about the economic side of things in household income / job opportunities. As reported by Michael Salimi, an expert in unemployment law, in the workplace, African American males continue to have an unemployment rate twice that of their white males. And this has been true for decades regardless of education level. Relatedly, they also have there's a substantial income gap between African American males and white males. And this graph from the United States Treasury shows this, where you can see at the very top, you have the white non-Hispanics, then you have others, then you have Hispanics, and then finally at the very bottom, you have Black African Americans. And then this is also from the U.S. Treasury. It's the overall wealth inequality, also known as the Gini. You can see that starting from the 2000s, it begins to substantially increase, and it hits its peak at 2016, and then slightly decreases at 2019. So from here, you can see the severe difference in income inequality between the races. We're going to be talking about healthcare. So discrimination is also present in healthcare. According to this chart by the CDC, African Americans are more likely to die at early ages than any other race. So you can see from the causes I'm going to be talking about: high blood pressure, diabetes, and stroke. This connects back to the economic side of things, as Black African Americans don't have as many economic opportunities, and they also live in poor communities. As a result, they're not able to receive the proper health care they need to live a healthy life. Okay. Now I'm going to be talking about my solutions and limitations to this problem. The three solutions I'm going to be talking about are celebrating other cultures, calling out hate speech to stop the process of discrimination, to make sure it's not tolerated, and teaching the younger generation. I think that the third is the most important. I do think all three should be implemented, but I think the third is the most important, only because if we're teaching the future now, that in the future we won't have as much discrimination going forward. And my three limitations to this are resistance to change, with certain people having older worldviews, lack of awareness. Some people are just ignorant when it comes to discrimination, not that's necessarily a bad thing, but in this case it would be. And intersectionality, which is where gender, race, economics, and sexuality, they all intersect, and this makes it harder to tell where discrimination begins and where it ends. I'm going to end with yet another quote from Martin Luther King. Discrimination is a hellhound that gnaws at Negroes in every waking moment of their lives, declaring that the lie of their inferiority is accepted as a truth in the society dominating them. However, with the solutions I've already mentioned, we can not only put a stop to discrimination of African Americans, but we can also create a United States in which all people are treated equally and with respect. And then we can truly call ourselves the land of the free. Thank you.
All right, two questions for you. First up, how reliable and how valid and reliable were the sources that you used, and then how do you know they were?
I think the sources that I used were all very reliable, and I know this because I got them from either a U.S. government credited source like the U.S. Treasury or the Department of Education, or I got them from using EBSCO, which is an academic resource finder, and I also used sources that were backed up and peer-reviewed.
All right. And what questions popped up along the way of your research? Well, really the whole project. What questions popped up to you?
So some questions I had were more specifically how African Americans are discriminated upon in society, but I chose not to focus on that as much because I thought it wasn't as measurable as I wanted it to be, and I thought that the economic part was more important to me.